but go and think, because sasa hivi tuko injured. There is nothing wrong as sisi kurudi nyuma, retreat. Let us continue talking, but let us think of new ways of countering this guy. That's the only way out. Tusikimbia sasa na ma solutions zingine mingi. There is nothing wrong. We are injured. A good soldier retreats and restrategize. So let them win right now. Na wafanye Kenya watafanya, but sisi to stop. Let us not stop talking. We can go back and restrategize. Thank you, Pipita.
Wazi Rasji, asante sana. Naona umetuelekeza dakika 3 tufikia top of the hour. I'm going to hand over the mic back to Pipi at that. And as well as I do, Pipi, to you, I'm going to drop for just a few minutes. There's an urgent call I have to make, and then I'll come back. The last thing I want to say as I hand over is it is good we have this kind of I think it's good we've sectioned this. I don't know if we're going to leave it permanently, PP, this town hall situation on Friday, because it then allows people to have an extra day to just really summarize the week and also speak a bit more deeply on some of the things that they are thinking as their thoughts on an open scale. Then secondly, as I said before, whatever things that I have spoken about personally today are my sentiments, not necessarily sentiments of Home Run with PP, but my thoughts, thinking across and around some of what I'm seeing as a possible reality in as far as the change that we really want to see on the different levels, from the executive, the legislature, and also the judiciary. And I start to feel that a sort of a plan that has been made with a short, medium, and a long-term plan will be able to help us arrest that. And my direction for a short-term plan will be the legislature in such a way that it actually does represent what we have and does not end up being assaulted or being used being used to abuse sovereignty of what it's supposed to do at the end of the day for people. I think that's what I feel right now. And the truth of the matter is, this is not somebody, we're not dealing with somebody who has any plan in whatsoever way to let go of his power, not only during what I believe is his terms of sitting on the presidency itself, but also being in a position where he's positioning himself in a place where he's going to have the ability to control it even after that period of time. Just developing some.
DK, are you there? Kwani napoteza watu? Wala.
And can I ask, shouldn't Kindiki have resigned by now? He's supposed to be sworn in tomorrow.
Okay.
Actually,
are you there?
Him being
DK there?
Is illegal.
All right, I can't hear DK. Anthony, DK is talking.
No. DK said he will be dropping to do an urgent call.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you so much for that. It gets us to exactly 7 p.m. East African time. Welcome to Home Run with People, ladies and gentlemen.
Social conversations, engaging topics on your phone, anywhere. This is Home Run with Pipi.
You're listening to Home Run, People, ladies and gentlemen, comes to you each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. East African time. My name is MC Pepita. You can call me Pipi. And of course, this wonderful Friday, we're just here for a town hall meeting where we are listening to everybody's thoughts on the day's topic. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to just remind you that Fridays is turning out to be a town hall meeting where we keep on taking a toll of our government, which seems to be moving at a breakneck speed. Wanakimbia na speed ya helicopter hawa majama. So as we're getting to this 7 p.m. hour, I'm going to let more speakers talk to us, of course, and our show here is maintained by you, the listener. If you like what I'm doing, pale vijuku na jamba 0721948229. Ingia pale, you drop your support for the show as well to help keep the lights on this side. As you can see, it looks like we have to do a lot of things. We make 10,000 steps ahead for we make 1 million behind, but we keep on moving. So yes, I want to hear from Justice for all. Habari yako mzee Justice, umepotea siku nyingi?
Yeah, sorry, I probably took a short break, but I'm back. A lot going on to think about, talk about, just trying to interpret. It's just it's overwhelming, but I'm glad to hear voices of everybody and to see some familiar faces, which is good. But there are quite a number of issues that obviously we can talk about, but I'm sure some people don't want to hear about the impeachment anymore, but for me, it's probably one of, I was against it, so I just have to say it on the onset, for many reasons. Number one, because it wasn't initiated by the people that are leading the movement. So every time I hear people talk about that, tumeanzia Gachagua, now we can go to the president, I'm left wondering that, am I the only one who is looking at this differently, that this had nothing to do with us? It is actually meant necessary to try and put us in a very awkward place so that we can have a new theater of politics that is more destructive and destructive. But the sad part is to have a killer being netted to be the one that is going to replace the one that has been impeached. I'm using the word a killer deliberately because it's under his watch that we saw our fellow patriots and Genzs being slaughtered, and yet he just came out strong, killing people like flies. I think it's one thing that I can never forget. That is why I feel that we have now continues to move from one level of destruction to the next one. Thirdly, it does then bring me to the point of my own speculation that I do not think the grounds that were advanced for the impeachment of Gachagua are the reasons. So then the question is, what is exactly the reason behind this? So this is more speculative. There must be something bigger and deeper that we don't know, but possibly only the parties involved and know. And I think it's probably a very deeper political situation that could even be financial in nature that affects you and me. What could that thing be? But then that brings me to another imagination of all this game that is being played. My imagination is the heartlessness with which they proceeded after Gachagua was hospitalized. It really brought me to understand the heart of the country. My disappointment with the senior counsel Orengo, his utterances, and the decision that being made to rush that thing until we were in a crisis and we were, the country was going to sink without it. It just brought out the soul of the nation, which I think we have spoken quite a bit in this space about really where are we as a people. That simple, soft, moral fabric of the nation and the soul of who we are as a people. That power and other imaginations can be the driving force behind some of these things. But then the greatest fear is if we move forward and the court order is defied, then where do we go from there? Then we start getting into another crisis. But another imagination of my crisis is that if, God forbid, anything happens to Ruto during this court process, then obviously constitutionally Rick G becomes the president, and then from there it's maybe appoints nominates a deputy, and then gets vetted, and the whole cycle goes on and on and on. That's just stretching my imagination of what crisis we might get ourselves into. But enough of that point of Rigiji. So mine is, I feel like it's a very sad situation. I did not feel like the process. I mean, we spent hours, watching through every submission, every cross-examination and all that. And I think it was just, in my opinion, it's something that I feel there was some unfairness, especially on the process side, even though we didn't think that the motion should have been moved from the beginning. But enough of that. The other point that gets advanced immediately, I think I had 3 points, but maybe I'll probably stop at some point so that I can maybe get another chance later. But the other point I want to talk about is how to quantify public participation. I think that we have one very important thing that we are calling public participation that I feel we need to start rethinking of how exactly do we start setting a certain level of threshold or a way of quantifying this public participation that is becoming, a conversation of every process. And what I'm thinking is, how do people like you, PP, the rest of the people of media houses, but how can even our universities alone help us to even do credible opinion polls? We can't have to wait to see, I don't know, it's called what? The one that did some opinion poll recently, a fake one, talking about Kenyans have said they want impeachment. But I don't want to go into that. But I think there's a way we need to develop, especially the media houses. It could be you guys who own these platforms, or somebody, a credible body, pollster that can come out, more than one, that we can start having a way of the pulse of the country, but also we start having a threshold of what percentage of the people need to participate in order for it to be called credible. How then do we collect their views and to be brought to the fore? And lastly, the issue of the recall that has been mentioned, that'll probably be my last one for today. The issue of the recall of the MPs, I think it's a very tricky area, and I think Fatima talked to it, but really, if you look at it and classify it into three, the key point is the timelines for the recall. The second point is the threshold of what is expected, what exactly constitutes, and of course it's the same grounds that you see that we are talking about even in this impeachment. And then we need to have like 30% of the signatures of the registered members of that constituency. For example, if you come from, I don't know, Embakasi West. So we need to know the registered members to mobilize them. We need to have at least 30% of the signatures to be, and then now it takes us to another problem. IBIS has to verify them. We don't have it. And then we have to go back to public participation. And then it's just a whole challenge that we need to start rethinking now, even as we talk about having IBIS in place so that we can have a recall. How do we really get the actual meet the threshold for a recall? Then how do you go to engage a whole 30% when we know very well, even during elections, in some constituencies, we even have like 40% or 36%. In fact, if it's the size of Kilifi and all that. So those are the kind of challenges to start thinking now. How do we engage moving forward so that we can work with the system, empower them, have people involved, and then how do we really add our voice to make sure that those systems are put in place? So I appreciate PP for the opportunity. Good to see everybody, and I do hope that we continue to benefit from other submissions. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Justice for All, as well, for that submission. I see we have Frema Junior Cliff as well, and Rasji is about to rebuttal. Junior Cliff, habari yako? Lakini Frema tumemtupa sana. Frema, kabla tuwe kwa Junior Cliff, wacha tu tusikize ndugu Frema. Tumetupa Frema sana. Wacha niachilie jingle kwanza ya kukukaribisha ndugu.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to Home Run with Pippi.
You're listening to the town hall sessions that happen here on Fridays here on Home Run with PP. On these town hall meetings, we basically listen to what the Kenyans feel about the general goings on of the country. And of course, yesterday and today, things have moved so basically in the past 2 weeks. Things have moved so fast, so seamlessly. From National Assembly to public participation to Senate hearing to the new deputy president. In fact, the former deputy president was impeached before midnight today, and the new deputy president appointee was ratified by parliament by midday today. Unajua nini iwak shift? It was launched on 1st until today, 18th. People are still paying cash. Anyway, Frema, talk to us.
Good evening, Peter.
Good evening to you.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to be brief because the speakers, alikuwa anaitwa Fatuma na Horizon, Horizon, as they've spoke out my mind. They've said what resonates with us actually, so I'm going to be brief. What I can say is that we still have a long way to go as a country. The problems we are having now as a country is because, as said by Fatuma, it's because of our member of parliament. The Kenyan parliament is no longer independent. It has been captured and kidnapped by the executive. So they are being used as a rubber stamp by the presidency and the deep state to implement their interests, desires, and to fulfill actually what they want. So you saw even kama hii process vile ilikuwa, why the S iliharakishwa kila kitu mpaka hata unashindwa, like IBC clearance ikafanywa hata unashindwa hata
Frema umeenda
issues today. Nansikia? Am I back?
Sasa nakusikia. Yeah, you're back.
Okay. I was saying, as a country, we are minoring on majors and majoring on minors. Yeah, instead of the Kenyan government focusing on pertinent, pressing issues which are impacting on the ordinary mwananchi, wako hapa tu kuharakisha vitu yenye inataka kusuit their desires and interests. And that's why, as Fatuma said, we want to focus on parliament. Sisi vijana kwa hii miaka miwili, sababu ukiona saa hii rais ametumia parliament kama rubber stamp. Sasa tunataka hii miaka miwili tufanye civic education aswa kwa sisi vijana. Sisi vijana tujichague wenyewe na to make sure hakuna mtu anaenda kutununua kule bunge, ndio parliament iweze kucounter ama kukataa yale proposals ama policies yenye serikali ina initiate na inataka i go through. Nilikuwa naona juzi kuna mambo yalifanyika katika kaunti ya Nandi. There were ghost walk, kulikuwa na mambo ya ghost walkers and mismanagement in county government of Nandi. Na pia wabunge ambaye walipiga kura yes kwa ile nini the defang nini bill 2024 bill.
Frema, make a network work for you, Frema bwana. Junior Cliff, habari?
Nzuri sana, habari?
Niko fiti sana, unaendelea aje?
Niko fiti. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Talk to me.
Yeah, today is a kind of very sad day for me with what has been happening around our country. And this is not necessarily because of Mr. Gachagwa's impeachment, but what I would term as a blind eye that's being a blind eye from the Kenyans, per se. In the Gazette headlines, we have Gachagua being impeached after 799 days or something. Then below, there's a small note that Adani is going to be using the title deeds of JKIA for loans. Now, our guys poached Adani because of the muscles and however they can improve our airport. But now they're going to use our titles to get the same money which we could have done ourselves. Guys, it is high time we decide either to start now or start after 2027. And I believe
Are you done?
I'm a lost pipi. I'm a lost.
Nilikuwa jaribu kumtafuta nafikiria ni kama ni mimi ama ni yeye. I always said it's not you, it's me. Ras G. Ras G, unanisikia? Aya. Z? Now, you know, one thing that has hit me is, okay, people are saying, oh, meacha kuongelea Adani. Unless you're in court, there is nothing kuongelea inasaidia, ama unataka kufungua space yako pia. Unless you're in court, there is nothing you're doing to address these issues. Because for once, kama ni SHA, it's working right now. So unless you're in court stopping it, you are just like me. So you cannot tell me what to talk about and not talk about what. Unanielewa? Mnanielewa tarakanidi? We have an issue, and that is why we ended up blaming everybody as a sold person. Unanielewa? Like, we are entitled to an opinion about everything. Okay, in our country right now, as you're speaking, there is a lot of what we call political heat. I used to be those people who used to say, I don't like politics. In fact, if you came to my spaces in 2021, if you spoke politics, I would kick you out faster than you even requested that microphone. And then when I finished my internship, my colleague got employed for another job because of his name. And then I was thrown out. And then I realized, okay, maybe this is it. So I realized I don't have the luxury of a powerful second name. That is, my dad is not in the capabilities of, imagine babako tu unamwambia dad, nimemaliza shule, niko na stress. Akwambia acha nikuchukulie 600 hapa hivi ndo ununue hoteli kababa. Oh my God. You see, so some of us do not have that luxury. That's why we are working on Friday evenings. Yeah. So I have to talk about these things. I have to dissect them. And one thing about the media are actually enjoying this drama because it's giving them content. Our struggles are unasikia. Wacha tuende kwa mtangazaji wetu anaitwa Anthony pale Mkuyuni. Kusema kweli Wakenya wamesikitishwa na ile jambo la kutolewa kwa bwana Gachagua. Wacha tuende kwa ile mtangazaji wetu Nyeri. Ukweli huko Nyeri wameona wacha tuende huko Kisii. You see, by the time wanamaliza 1 hour imeisha, alafu wanarudi studio tena napata tena the same pundits wamekaa hapo tena. Anyway, as I said, my dad does not have the abilities of taking a 600 million loan, so I'm not going to be the one that is going to be begging for politicians mercy. Kanyaga shingo venye mnakanyagana. Unaona mtoto unajua Keith na Charlene wako na high chances ya kuoana kuliko mimi na Charlene kuoana. In fact, if Charlene introduced a podcaster called Pipita, dad meet Pipita, my friend, salale.
This is Home Run with Pipi.
Anafinya nini? Computer, tap tengele.
You're listening to Home Run with Pipi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Ebu recho kuja. George, mambo.
Tumeletea wale jamaa wa spaces hapa.
Yule jamaa wa simu wamekuja. Ebu work hard, guys. George, ni aje?
You know, I saw today this gentleman, this very fine gentleman. His name is Osama Otero. I saw his KFC chicken sometimes back when I was in jail with, I can remember the name of the musician. And he was saying that it's time the president came back to the spaces. And he was willing to... Tupac. I was in prison with Tupac. I just remember the name. He was willing to rehost the president on another Twitter space. But now, if you become in law with Mr. President, Pipita, it's where it's happening. P.I. squared.
Tap tengele. Mnajapo nitakuwa naongelesha kama relatives. Alafu nikiona anataka kwenda kama project anaenda kudanganyana na feature wig. Unajua sasa itabidi tuanze kucheza from inside.
Alafu unaongeza gole kidogo hapo inaingia. Gole.
Nimesahau ndio nalipelekwa round ujinga zingine.
Hata wewe unafikiria msanii anaweza enda ama mlikuwa mfikiria msanii anaweza achwa aende awe mtoto wa president? Una akili nyinyi.
Ndio nalipelekwa kwa wazazi. Nikapelekana kwa wazazi. Na aliacha hapo wakiongelesha tu. Hata ako wapi? We don't even remember the guy.
But
nakumbuka kibieva kwa siasa. Yes, George.
I was raising my hand to point out to something you actually alluded to when you were reading the comments and somebody is telling you how to do things. I mean, isn't that now where we are? Reduced just to complaining instead of being proactive. It's it's how the police treated the demonstrators. It's how this person was arrested and now we are calling it abduction. It's the way they rushed the process. It's the way they were able to certify the appointment of the new VP. It's the way the headline of the JKIA was hidden in the bottom and not on the top of the list. It's everything you see that you object to, but you do not have an opinion of your own. I used to be with a woman like that. It's the direction where the house looked. It's where the windows looked in relation to the sunrise and the sunset. It's the car you bought. It's the shoes you bought. It's where you chose to go eat. It's the kind of tomatoes you brought home. There was always a negating opinion of something that somebody else have done. But record have shown us that anybody who has made any meaningful change, they set out there and created their own agency to be the change that they want. I put up a video of Kidiki 2 years ago when he was being vetted for a different position than the one for today. And he started saying, my name is Kidiki. I was born in 1972. I went to this primary school. Then I went to Alliance. Then I went to university. And then I became a lawyer. And then I mastered law in Pretoria and became PhD. I taught university in I taught law at Moi University for 4 years. And then I came to Nairobi University and taught for another 15 years. This guy has been on a path to where he wanted to be. And where we see him today is not the destination. He's still on a path. A more polarizing figure is the president himself. We see him for the first time at the age of 22, crossing the highway from University of Nairobi to Lilian Towers to join YK92, to becoming a member of parliament at 32, to becoming a minister, to becoming an influential figure even inside that YK92, to becoming vice president for 10 years, and making all things align in his favor. Because if the constitution had changed, if the BBI had won, then they would have thrown him out. If the other guy had refused to run, he told us that he felt like he needed to slap the fuck out of him, then they would have. So he made sure everything worked in his favor. But now we have a whole new generation, the nigger class, that their job is just to sit on the fence somewhere and negate everything everybody else is doing. They are not working on themselves at such an early productive vantage years of their lives. No, they have resigned into defeat. In your 20s, you are resigning to defeat. You are fixated on other people's path. Instead of you burying your head down and say, is this how he did it? He started at 22, I am going to start at 22. And in 30 years, I'm going to be where he is. And even more. Everybody that comes into the limelight, they have worked on themselves meticulously against all odds. And now we have this new nigger class that is defeated, and the environment is not good enough, and the things are so bad, we cannot be like them. Really? Really? I don't get it. But it's good for business. Because if you have a whole generation of whiners, all you have to do is insert yourself in there and become a solution to their problems. And they are going to make you billionaires because they don't have the agency to solve their own problems. Be the solution to the complainers' problems over and over. But it's such a disheartening situation because looking at the generation of the nigger class and then looking into the next 100 years, how is this world going to look like when the majority of the people who should be leading it are just a whole generation of whiners?
George, umefanya mpaka nilikuwa naangalia chini kwa space yangu. Kwa space yangu nakuja kunisomea. Hiyo ni kazi ya Western Shilaho. Sasa wewe ndio umeichukua, unafanya mpaka naanza kuangalia chini kwa space yangu na wauliza, "Je, huu ni ungwana?" But he has a very sasa acha kwanza ya Western ngoje kidogo. Justice for all atuongelesha. Hatuwezi toka kwa just George alafu tuende kwa Western tutaumia. This is home run, guys. Justice.
No. Yeah, well, Weston can come in, but mine was just to make sure that there is a little bit of a balance with what George is saying, even though there is some element of...
Man, I cannot hear the guy if he's speaking. I'll drop and come back.
Okay.
You can hear me?
I can hear you. I don't know if the rest of the speakers can hear you.
Anybody who can hear me? Maybe it's my connection.
DK Western, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Continue.
You can hear.
Yeah, so what I was talking about is that especially some of the people that even come here and talk, they are not necessarily all here to whine. They are people who actually have worked themselves up, successful, and they are they want to see how their country is run properly and run well. First point. Second point is that we have prime examples that we are using, like the ones of Ruto. Nobody would want to be like that. Nobody would want to be wealthy and successful using that path. So I think it's critically important also to realize that, yes, as much as we want to be successful, but how do you get there? There has to be the right way. We are dealing with a case or a situation where we are having a country where there is outright things that you can see that these are people who have conned themselves into where they are. So I think there has to be a balance that even some of these examples are not worth emulating and worth following. So yes, I agree that we need to raise a generation that is hardworking and also trying to create, innovate and create things and be successful. But I wouldn't say that when people are pointing out to bad governance, they are necessarily complaining about everything and anything. What we are doing is that we have to call for good governance in our country. That's all I just wanted to, the point I wanted to make. Appreciate it.
All right. DK Gift, what do you have to say?
I think for me, it's like we just came from the same room with Justice for All, and he read my script before I got to the mic, and then he just went with it. Because it is true, there is a huge section and chunk of the generation, especially the youngest generation that is there, that is Generation Z, that actually thinks that things come from a microwave perspective. I call them microwave kids who think that things just pop up and success just pops up in your hand. And that has to be killed because it doesn't come overnight. It doesn't come by you just wishing it to be there. But I also think it's gaslighting people by wanting to say that characters that we are all very, very, very clear and aware that there are ways to their supposed success story is one that is continuously mauled by different types of ingenuine activity, lack of value, lack of principle in one way or the other, whether it is by immersing of their success in terms of wealth or in terms of where they stand, whether it is hurting other people for them to get to where they are. We cannot get away from that. Also, I wanted to add that it is also an extra level of gaslighting to take all these persons that simply because a certain generation has the tendency of thinking that things come overnight, that whatever grievances that those people could raise are grievances that are neither here nor there, or to put it as George put it in his words, whiners. I don't think it's right, because I will speak evidently and say clearly, I am a person who is clearly against any kind of person who has gotten themselves there by hurting other people. And bad governance has to be called out one way or the other. So for me to call out bad governance, and for my neighbor and my friend and my brother and my cousin to speak of the same, it cannot all be concluded to say that it is whining. It cannot be concluded to say that it is complaining. Because the truth of the matter is, there is a young lady right now, a mother right now, who needs to look for 5,000 shillings to either go and get a child, or 7,000 shillings for them to get a CS because Linda Mama disappeared. There is a father or a mother or a young lady somewhere who needs dialysis, but NHIF is not working clearly because it was removed, and SHA shift itself is still not working. And that person needs to look for 8,500 or 9,500 for a single session for them to get their dialysis. We have to speak about those things, and there is no way around it. So for me to speak on them, it is not whining. It is just calling out a spade for a spade.
Ruto worked and benefited from a bad system. He was proposed to achieve bad results, and that's why today we are experiencing bad governance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run. I see Western Shilaho is here with us. Habari yako Western Shilaho?
Habari Pipita, ukoje lakini?
Niko njema, uchovu lakini niko freshi barida.
Poa. Amna neno. Peter, there's no hierarchy when it comes to issues, especially the kind of issues we're talking about. There's no hierarchy, because somebody would ask you, what gadget are you using to come up with a hierarchy of which issue deserves preference, which issue should take precedence over the other issues. There is no hierarchy. You can talk about anything and everything. So I get disturbed when people say you have to focus on this and not that. This is not a priority. The question is, how do you arrive at what requires top priority and what should be parked for a later date? We can do all these things at the same time. And as I keep saying, bad governance is usually a reflection of the people who are presiding over the state. So bad governance is not something that falls from outer space. It's a byproduct of bad decision making and lack of vision and disregard for the collective good. That's what bad governance is all about. So the kind of things we're witnessing unfolding before us within the political elite circle, that's what bad governance emanates from. So as I keep saying, the airport thing is a byproduct of the kind of myopia that has pitched camp in the executive and then the government at large. So how do you address those byproducts without addressing the root cause? How do you do that? Okay, you go to court over those weird deals. You wake up tomorrow, there's another deal. You go back to court, and the circus continues. So you have to address where these bad deals are coming from. So I don't get it when I hear some of my fellow compatriots are telling, us what we should prioritize and what we should not prioritize. One, in actual sense, when you've got bad leaders in the sense that these are people who are self-interested in the decisions they make as far as the state is concerned, then nothing else will move. So you can't ignore the circus, the impeachment, the court petition, and say you're just going to focus on the health. Why is health not working? Why is it not working? Infrastructure. Why don't we have infrastructure? Why is the education sector not working? It's because of those people. So you have to focus on those people. You see, can you call them to order? Can they listen to you? If they cannot listen to you, can you bundle them out of office? If you cannot, what are you going to do about that? Those are the questions. Peter, the other thing I wish to say is that being appointed to a state office should not be seen as the apex of professional success. You know, that kind of thinking is what has resulted in our very convoluted understanding of the concept of heroism. That our heroes, in quotes, almost all of them tend to be politicians. The politicians have messed us up. How do those people all end up to be our heroes? But when we think that if somebody, well, Ure Kindiki, this deputy president-elect, that is the apogee of success and professional accomplishment, we inadvertently contribute to corruption, because then everybody else wants to get, a piece of that state. If you are doing something else, you are not serving your community. You're not contributing to your society. You're not doing something that is worth paying attention to. You have to be appointed as a permanent secretary. You have to be appointed as a cabinet minister. You have to be appointed as a deputy president, and those kind of things. Ambassador. Now, those are successful people. That's weird. We have to get out of that. That's why, Peter, when you do something good, some Kenyans will ask you, can you run for member of parliament? Can you run for governor? Like, really? So you can't contribute to the collective well-being from any other sector of the society other than as a state official. Is that the case? So even lawyers, they want to get into parliament as members of parliament. They want to be appointed to the cabinet. They want to run for governor. Like, Peter, that kind of mindset actually is what accounts for the dysfunction that we see at the center of governance. Because then people want to get positions in the state not to serve, because easy route to money, easy route to fame. You can act with impunity, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. In any case, you're a cabinet minister. Don't the police know you're a cabinet minister? Peter, I don't think there's a crisis. There's no crisis. There is no crisis. We can only think that there is because we give these politicians a larger-than-life image in our lives. Yeah, we exaggerate their relevance as far as our lives are concerned, when in actual sense there's evidence that they're irrelevant to our lives. They're relevant to the extent that they mess us up. People fall sick, they go to hospital, there are no drugs, there are no doctors. Schools are not working, and all those things we mentioned. Economy has tanked. Now, they are relevant to that extent that they mess us up. But they're not relevant as far as transforming our lives is concerned. So why do we think that when they fall out, that should translate into a crisis? It shouldn't. Because they rely on us to fight those battles. You know, that when I'm in battle, some people go into the streets and protest in my defense. So that's what their definition of a crisis, if you don't know. That when I'm in battle, some people will protest and destroy property. That's the definition of a crisis. But that there are, say, one sitting deputy president who has not accepted the verdict of the bicameral chamber, and there's another one who has been gazetted as a deputy president-elect. That's not a crisis. Why should it be? You will sort out the mess whichever way you can until you sort it out. Otherwise, the clouds are not collapsing. Not today, not tomorrow, not next week. They won't collapse. That is it. So there isn't. They use human shields, people, to advance their parochial interests, and we must call them out. Secondly, Pipita, I think the courts of Kenya must rise to the occasion. They must rise to the occasion because there's a reason why, Pipita, in some jurisdictions, students of law, as a matter of compulsory, must also study politics. They must study politics. Students of law, as a matter of fact, must study sociology or philosophy or literature in some jurisdictions. You cannot just graduate as a law student if you have not read other things. Because the reasoning is that you are not going to interpret the law outside of the society in which you administer that law. You can't. If you don't understand your society, and social sciences equip you the tools for that, you are going to look at the law in a straitjacket fashion. You just look at the law, this is what it says, this is what the Constitution says, but the Constitution says something. But there's also something about the society in which you live, in which you interpret this law. So you cannot just strictly stick to the Constitution. Sometimes you have to get out of that Constitution, to get out of what those acts of parliament say, and focus on the implications of the decisions you're likely to make. And this is not uniquely to Kenya. It's unique to many jurisdictions. It's unique even when they interpret international law. They focus. What will this do? ICC, for instance, when they interpret the law, they focus on, can this destabilize that country whose citizens are supposed to be indicted and arrested? Can it destabilize that country? How do we go about it? They focus on those things. That's politics. That is society. That's factoring in the wider good as far as ordinary people are concerned. So, Pipita, it's imperative. And I'm saying, going forward, if you look at William Ruto, he's not going to tolerate anybody around him whose loyalty is in question. You can be sure about that. He will not. The battle lines are drawn. So it will be you are on that side, ranged against him, or on his side, and you will be one of his soldiers. That's what it means from here going forward. So I am told there's supposed to be a swearing-in ceremony tomorrow or something. That puts the Chief Justice in a quagmire, if you don't know. So if she doesn't pitch, that may mark the beginning of her downfall. If she does not pitch, that's what it is. So as Kenyans, this is how we have to read this politics going forward. That the battle lines are drawn, people from this side range against people on the other side. So people cannot afford to blow hot and cold and be lukewarm. If you're on the side of justice and the rule of law and the people of Kenya, you have to stand up and be counted. If you are for the status quo, the state, you have to stand up and be counted. You cannot blow hot and cold. Pipita Island, I don't see the courts overturning the impeachment verdict. I don't see, for the simple reason that it's politics, and the judges will have to be alert to the politics that have underpinned and undergirded the whole process. If they get out of that politics and immerse themselves in the law, strictly speaking, the whole process will spiral out of control, and we may not like what may ensue at the end. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Weston, for that. Don't go far. We are going to come back to you in a while. But I see Daniel there, and also want to see your points as well on the comment section and what people have to say on this topic in particular. Daniel, what do you have to say? Are you there, Daniel?
Okay, I have two things. Number one, I needed to make a quick comment. Yeah, Manisikia.
Nakupata.
Do you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Daniel. Continue.
Okay. So I was saying, first of all, just a quick comment on is it George? George ndiye alikuwa anaongea mwenye alikuwa anasema andika class. Okay, first of all, nobody, like, human beings are not meant to suffer. God said we are supposed to work, not suffer. People suffer because of the circumstances that were created. Okay, it is not like that. Imagining that a human being has to suffer in order to succeed. First of all, I'm not a like baby or anything, far from it. But like imagining that a human being has to suffer and grind and go through misery for them to achieve anything worthwhile is in and of itself kind of a poverty mindset. Because what it does, it engraves the mind into thinking that good things are not deserved. They're supposed to be some good something you're supposed to get because you serve. No, like Buddha, there are countries in this world, like Scandinavian countries, which are managed well. A kid gets born, goes to school, goes to uni, and there's a job right there for them. And when they retire, the government literally gives you your pension for the rest of your life. There's Germany that pays you for not working. Like, there are things you're supposed to understand. You are suffering because of the circumstances you're born. It's like our grandfathers had to walikuwa kufanya kazi, walipwe tu bob, watembe na mabike huko miguu tupu. Why? Because some white guy who had connections to the king alikuwa anatoka huko kwao anakuja anaambiwa, by the way, this 5,000 acres ni zako, we want X amount of bags from you. You can live in that mansion. And then you see these other two black people here, they will work for you. Like, he didn't have to suffer. Why? Because the King of England had created circumstances that prevents them from suffering. So they did not have to suffer to be wealthy because of the circumstances created. Guys are suffering here because of the circumstances created. But human beings are even God says you have to work. He didn't say you have to suffer. That's it. Now, on the other thing, which I was saying that the whole idea of we must actually do things is true. Like, we shouldn't be complaining about Ruto doing this, Ruto doing that. Ruto could not care less about us complaining. And in fact, Ruto isn't even afraid of us protesting on the streets. He could care less. There's GSU for that. What he is afraid of is how it will be perceived by the rest of the world. Because Ruto could not care less how we see him. What he cares is how he is seen by the international partners, because that's where most of his acclaim is. And I'm telling you, the day that guy solidifies his international acclaim, ataua watu huku chini ya maji. Zile majala zilikuwa nasikia za Moi huko Nyayo House zitarudi mbaya. Like, this guy, his entire power is going to lie under the perception the international world has for him. It was good. We messed it up. Now he's revenging. He's trying to recover it. The minute he is back, he is going to solidify his rule like nobody else. And he's as long as, like, you need to ask yourself, why is it that when we were protesting Huku, they did to go and talk to his American friends to put it on time, to put him on Time magazine? Like priorities, Bana. Like, that tells you where these guys' priorities are. Like, just the other day, he's getting an international award for is it some, non-corrupt leader or some shit? Like, this guy cares more about how he is seen by the international community than he cares about anything to do with us. So if you have to defeat him, that's where you hit first. That's how I think. And because KOT is here, that is what he's afraid of most. He's afraid of KOT. So anyway, I'm done.
You know, when Brazil tried to close X, it was crazy. I hope they never get to close X. But there was also one guy that I saw who disappeared and was found dead. Wow. I really dread for those days that we have to host spaces in hiding or running away from our place. George, I see you have been mentioned, so I'm going to give you a chance to rebuttal before I bring in the real Joe.
Yes, and real quick, Derito, if you can hear me, give me thumbs up. Derito lives in a Scandinavian country. So I want Derito to go in the comment section and tell us that in Scandinavian country where he lives, people do not complain about the government. I want to hear it from somebody who is in the Scandinavian country. Because we have this utopia we have created in our heads that there is a perfect country in this planet. If there were, they would not have elections.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
Mute your mic bana. Hakuna mtu amekuongelesha ukiwa umeongea. Mute your mic. Ongea George.
So this idea that there is a utopia, perfect world out there, it's never there. It's never there. If there was, there would be no need for elections because people would be completely satisfied with the people they have put up there. The Catholic Church is complaining about the Pope and they don't have a vote to it. So the solutions to our problems is not complaining. And the problem with me is, mimi sikusoma, but I'm a very good observant of history. So I'm avoiding to say I'm a student of history because that would be lying. But every generation has come up with a handful group of people that actualize their aspirations. My generation, we looked up to James Orengo and Paul Moite and Merugi Kariuki, Itobu Imanyara, Balala. You don't know that Balala. I don't know where he went. A different kind of Balala. And Giorgio Nyonka from Nyalibari Chache. Those are the people who carried our aspirations. They told us here is where something is wrong. And then we said, okay, what do you need from us? Oh, we just need your support. What are you going to do about it? Oh, we are going to do something about it. We are going to run for elective offices. We have already started law. We are doing businesses. We are going to use every available avenue to actualize the change that we think we need. But they did not sit idly by and complain and scream at Moi and demonstrate. No, they did actionable, tangible things. Those people now are the people in leadership, whether we like it or not. When I was in maybe Form 3 or Form 4, they came to Ihora Stadium in Muranga. James Orengo, Paul Moite. At the time, Charles Rubia had just been released. Matiba was still in prison. And they gave us that hope that they are working on something. And we all rallied behind them. If you follow the life of Anyanga Nyong'o, the same direction. He was a teacher. He was a lecturer at the university. He did not like how the system worked. So he exited the country and agitated from Mexico. And then came back now. He become everything that he thought. He has become the change that he fought for. Paul Moite ran for Kikuyu MP. Before that, he used to be arrested multiple times, over and over. But these people are doing something about the things that they believed needed to change. Some of the people exited the country and went to the same Scandinavian country he's talking about. Koigua Amwere and Merugi Kariuki and Ginyo Kariuki. They agitated from out there. And then when it was time to come home, they came home and fought the fight. But they were not victims. This is a very unique nigger class of victims without any exit plan. And the saddest part is, one amongst them, when they rise up to, okay, is this a problem you have? I'll appoint myself to be the change you want. No. They finish him. Every one of them. Every one of them. Today's week is Morala. because he does not like the way he is going to spend October 20. The same way I amplified earlier. It's the way you are doing it that we don't like. But we didn't have an option. We just wanted you to show us what you are doing. Like my ex-wife. That's why I killed her and cut her in small pieces and ate her from the freezer. So this is a very unique group of nigger class. Perfect complainers. Like the real niggers in America. Or the nigger class in South Africa. Ineffective complainers. There is somebody who posted something. Let me read it real quick, and then I'll get out of your hair. Somebody wrote something and said, protesting is woman-coded. Nagging others until they take the real action to achieve the goal you want. Women have to do that because at some level, they understand they are incompetent in many things. That's why feminism has a dash of humor in it. Women asking men for their permission and approval to have agency. But as a man, what is your excuse? Who are you nagging to do the bidding on your behalf? You should become the change that you need to see happen.
Well, okay. I see we have Luca Matoke here as well. Luca Jumbo, DK Gift is heavily going against what George is saying. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, if you want to engage, you can also come onto the microphone as well and engage. And also, if you're on the mic, you can request the microphone and you can raise the hand and I'll see you and call you over. Luca. Tumeambiwa bana hii mambo, unajua mimi kwanza mkituita nigger class, wengine wetu farthest tumeenda ni Mombasa na ndege, but sasa mkituita nigger tunashangaa sana. Because sasa nigger saa ngapi? Jamu, unacheka nasema naitwa nigger na sijapanda ndege.
No, nigger class is just a group of people that just like the American blacks, theirs is just to complain. They come up with zero solution to anything. But the moment something is done, it's not the way we wanted. I mean, they rejected Al Sharpton. They rejected Jesse Jackson. They rejected Barack Obama. Now they are rejecting Kamala Harris. It's not this black. We want a woman president, but not this woman. We want a black president, but not this man. Anything they see, they negate it. Just like my ex.
And that's why you had to eat her frozen. Man, I admire the game. The real Joe, hi.
How are you, Pipita?
I am fine. You know, it has been quite a week. So hata sina nguvu ya vita mimi.
Yeah, I understand. I can hear some very strong opinions today from George himself. I cannot resonate with George in any given moment, and I don't think we share the same ideology at all. Two contrasting ideologies, and therefore I don't know. I think I'm with DK on this. But anyway, let me give my submissions and deviate totally from what George is saying. I wouldn't want to engage. Pipita, the very basic essence of leadership is being able to respect the people who have put you in leadership, and also being able to put their interests first. And I dare say that leadership is not for me a quality, but it is a commitment. It is a sacrifice that you must make sometimes you have to go out of your way to ensure that the very many people you are leading are, first of all, satisfied before you get satisfied. And therefore, I don't take leadership as a quality. I take it as a commitment and a sacrifice. And that is the ultimate leadership test. Because someone said that the true mark of a leader is willingness to stick to the bold course of action. And the bold course of action in most of these cases should always revolve around the people you lead. Sometimes you have to make some very, very bold steps to ensure that things are working. For me, again, leadership test in our country here is clearly stipulated in Article 73 and probably Article 10. And one of those articles is one of the reasons our DP was impeached. In fact, Article 10 as one of those articles that he contravened. But in this particular scenario also, Pipita, I don't think citizens...
Bro, ukisema Article 10, nataka utuambie ina state nini, because hata mimi nimechoka. At this rate, nitakuwa hizi articles kwa ndoto na hata sijui nini inasema. So when you say Article 10, maybe kwa wale nyatuelewi sheria unatuambia it is based on Article 10 in which states this and this. Ama at least a prose of it.
Okay, Pipita, thank you. I stand guided. Article 10 talks about national values and principles of governance. And Article 10 Part 1, actually, I'll talk about Article 10 Part 2. The national values and principles of governance in our country should include patriotism, national unity, sharing and devolution of power, rule of law, democracy, and participation of people. These are national values and principles of governance. Pipita, I repeat, and very, very fundamental aspects of this is patriotism, national unity, sharing and devolution of power, rule of law, democracy, and participation of the people. It is why this article, Pipita, it is one of those articles in our constitution that for you to amend, as per Article 255, for you to amend Article 10, you must go through a referendum. It is not by surprise that we have given that article and it has been protected. Continuing with that Article 10, still talks about national principles of governance include human dignity, equality, social justice, inclusiveness, human rights, non-discrimination, and protection of the marginalized. It is why that article is protected, Pipita. Good governance is included in principles of governance. Integrity. And someone said, integrity is like virginity, you only lose it once. Transparency and accountability. And lastly, sustainable development. I mean, Pipita, this last part D of part D of part 2D of Article 10 is very critical but overlooked. And this Article 10 entirely is always overlooked, like, I don't know, underestimated, underlooked, whatever. Sustainable development. As a country, we need to have sustainable development agenda, development that we can sustain. Anyway, I'm talking about this as part of my submission as the ultimate leadership test. It lies in Article 10, like I've read, Pipita. But when citizens come out to outrightly question leadership, it always just revolves around one thing. They don't feel their interests are being prioritized. It is why there's always a revolution. When citizens feel their interests are not prioritized. What is the interest of citizens? When citizens also raise their concerns, they are not whining. They are not whining.
That is what they ought to do. At every given step, they always have to raise their concerns. At every given step, citizens must always question. If they don't question, if they don't raise concerns, that is weakness. If you dare say that raising concern is weakness, that mentality is weakness, and it is a defeatist mentality. I also wish to say that legitimacy of leadership lies on public trust and public confidence. It is why, Pipita, I told you, as part of leadership test for me, Article 73 comes in. And you told me, you've given me again the challenge. When I talk about Article 73 talks about responsibility of leadership. And if you read that article, the first part of that article tells you authority assigned to a state officer. Part A is a public trust and is supposed to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the purpose and objectives of our Constitution, demonstrates respect for the people, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, promotes public confidence and the integrity of the office. That is the leadership test. So that's why I said the legitimacy of leadership lies on public trust and public confidence. But public confidence is, and public trust is like a relationship. It must be built. And that is why in our electoral cycle, we have the ability to again re-elect leaders. It is a process of building this relationship between you and the leaders. And this relationship is built based on these leaders you've given an opportunity, putting your interest first, serving your interest. It is just doing what they ought to do. Because leadership is clearly stipulated in our Constitution. Leadership has been given clear roles from the executive, legislature, judiciary. Each and every one of them have clear roles. So doing what you ought to do builds that public confidence and trust. But when citizens raise this concern about public confidence and public trust, Pipita, it is not weakness. It is what responsible citizens ought to do. It is, when I hear, actually, let me not mention, but Pipita, you see, in the United States, the Second Amendment gives the citizens of the United States the right to own, to bear arms. And this Second Amendment is their right to a revolution. For us, Article 1 gives us the right to a revolution and tells us outrightly that we can exercise these powers that we delegate directly. It gives us the right to revolt. It is not there as a flower or as a statement. It is there with a purpose. It gives you the right to one day, because it is sometimes also very possible that leadership, delegated sovereign power, can be misused. And we are seeing that happening. But one of the reasons we are having these conversations is to have the general public speak the same language. It is to convince and persuade each other on common grounds and a way in which we can then face this illegitimate leadership. It is not whining. It is educating ourselves. Once we are all educated and we can sail in the same direction, there is no stopping a people. And someone said that, revolution is not like a fruit that is ripe and just falls. You must make it fall. One of the ways to making that fruit fall is ensuring that as many people are well equipped with information about their rights, knowledge, and so many things.
That is how you make the fruit fall. If you make as many people know that there's a lot of injustice happening, our rights are not. See, Peter, I saw today the president with writing to the peace speaker that, IBC vetted. We don't have IBC commissioners. We don't have them. But he says IBC vetted whatever. It is just, what is that? It is, I don't know whether these people have legal minds around them or they're just doing things. But when citizens understand those kind of things are happening in our country, they are enlightened. In fact, the best weapon that we first give the citizens is information. That is the best weapon that we first need to give all the citizens. Information. Information is power. This statement is not just a statement. So therefore, there is no better way of raising concerns as citizens other than, there's no better way of starting to defend yourselves as citizens other than raising these concerns and talking about them. Well, it is a cliche even that the first way to solving a problem is talking about it. That's a cliche. It is general knowledge that people know that the first way to solve a problem is talking about it. So when we talk about these problems, we are not whining. We know what we are doing. We are trying to persuade each other every day until we all sail in the same direction. With that, Peter, it is that made majority of Kenyans leave their homes on 25th to go to parliament. Nobody told people to go to parliament because of just going. No, it was a procedure. People, we went to these protests several times and people saw the importance of going to these streets and people saw how we were united and people saw how we were deplatforming the leaders and people saw that people was persuaded this is the right course. And everybody spoke the same language for once. And in fact, the president said in his speech, I concede. I concede. Can we make him say, I concede again? Yes, we can. How? I think for me that somehow we deviated and started calling the big guns. We started talking about the big guns. Ruto must go. I feel that there we deviated. Hitting them, hitting him on issues, on policies is lack of public trust. When he brings policies and we bring down all the policies that he brings, that is one way of making him go. When he brings Sandani and we make it fall, it is one way of making him go. When he brings Shisha and we bring it down, it is one way of making him go. There's no president that you will remove from office with protests, just mere protest. It took a lot for Bangladesh to fall. It can happen, yes. It can happen. I'm not going to discredit. It can happen. It can happen. It requires a lot as well. But also we must be alive to the fact that sometimes not every scenario will be the same. We cannot be like Bangladesh. But we cannot fail to try as well. We should try. But we should also look for a way because, change is inevitable. People say that they now know that we hold spaces and they also join spaces. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But that does not stop us. Let them know that we are talking about these issues. Let them know that we are planning to go to the streets. Let them stay and block the roads and let the police protest on their own. It is part of protest for us. That is a win for me. When they blocked everybody to go from getting out on Nane Nane, they blocked the entire city. That is a win for me. If we do that often, it is a win. We have right now a constitution that gives us this as a right to go and protest. During Moi regime, during Moi era, that was not there. But did people protest? Yes. Were people killed? Yes. But these protests are also the same things that made Moi repeal Section 2A of the Constitution. In the build-up to that, Moi continuously lost his legitimacy. In the build-up to that, I can say that Moi was defeated in 2002. Of course, not typically, but yes, he was defeated because his candidate was defeated in 2002. And that is just fact. Even though Uhuru came again, ruled. I mean, that is there. But the general idea is that he was defeated. So in the same effect, can we do something? Can we do something? Doing something is, we are here now talking about issues. That is doing something. It is one step. The second step is actioning. The third step is now consistency. And all as a people. But discrediting a revolution is discrediting confidence, and you cannot discredit confidence. I mean, people always say you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. It is not just a say. Actually, you can't. So it is not whining, Pepita, and I hate when someone says it is whining. It is not whining. And there's no one who has monopoly for information. There's no one who has no monopoly for knowledge. Hakuna mtu akona monopoly for knowledge. If you think you have monopoly for knowledge, that is in itself foolishness. I'm sorry, I used that term. Thank you, Pepita.
Thank you so much, The Real Joe, for that. And of course, as I said, when you come to the mic, make sure when you say Article 16, don't think you're talking to lawyers. We only lied to our parents. We wanted to be lawyers so that they get out of our hair. Yeah, but we didn't even have any interest in law. But yes, so I have the Jamu here with us. How are you doing, Jamu? Who replies?
Niko poa Pepita, how are you?
I am well. Karibu kwenye show.
Asante sana. I'm listening to The Real Joe, and not only his words, but his tone and the agitation with it and the passion, and really appreciating it. The oversimplification ati ku protest ni kuwain is extremely unfortunate, but of course presented as an intellectual statement, but it's just pseudo-intellectual. We do need to activate our citizenship. And activating our citizenship is sometimes defining what our problems are. I mean, getting as close to a consensus as possible and organizing, mobilizing, and agitating for those things that we need to see happen. Hii wiki imekuwa ngumu on all fronts. Of course, what happened in Parliament, I think at this point, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and remind ourselves 3 times a day we are living in an unmitigated dictatorship. Not because of Gachagua. Gachagua is definitely not a saint, but the stranglehold that the president has on both houses of parliament is absolutely nuts. Nilikuwa kwa space where 2 Ugandan people happened to show up. I don't know if they were invited, they just happened to be there. And they requested the mic and they spoke very passionately. Wakasema, manze, vile tulikuwa tumeona protests Kenya, tulikuwa tumefurahia. Sisi pia na sisi tukapata nguvu, tukatoka kwa streets. You may remember at the height of protests Kenya, this thing was spreading across Africa. There were even fununus that this could be the next, I'm going to call it Arab Spring. I don't necessarily like the term, but whatever. Yeah, walikuwa wamepata nguvu, and they were out to protest, and they felt like this revolution could spread across East Africa. As soon as moto ilizimika kidogo hapa Kenya, naye bwana Museveni came down hard on them. Yes, because they had dared kutoa their heads up, and what they were warning us, was telling us, hey, munadhania ati Ruto ni Idi Amin. No, Ruto is worse than that. Ni Museveni. I guess because of our socialization, we have always thought Idi Amin was worse. And they told us that, hey, the way Museveni has been able to maintain stranglehold on this country ni kukua ni capture institutions. And one of those men was saying, amekuwa kwa hiyo country for Museveni has been in power for 40 years, came into power when he was 20, and he was feeling like his entire life has been wasted living in that country. I'm looking at our country and thinking, man, I don't have children, but if we don't, if nothing changes now, this unmitigated dictatorship might go on for, till kingdom come. And so I think one of the wonderful things about these spaces and our continued assembly in various fora is to get a sense of the urgency of the matter. Because maybe some of us are just thinking, ni politicians wanakuanga hivyo. But we are slowly, I don't think it's slowly, we are quickly sliding into what I see, I think already as an unmitigated dictatorship that just needs a couple of years to take root. How we deal with that, I don't know. I think protest is one, but I think it might end up being something like guerrilla warfare. It might end up having to be something more than just, I don't think a flag and a bottle of water will do at some point. We might need to apply pressure on all fronts, including internationally, because if we don't do that, anyway, strategy, maybe this is not the forum for kuongelelea strategy, but at the moment, I think I'm just wanting to point out that we're in deep trouble. Now, there are people who will take advantage of the situation that we find ourselves in, because many of us are suffering. And so there will be messiahs who will show up and tell us, mimi ni mimi nitawakomboa. And actually, when George was talking about the Kamalas and the Obamas and the Al Sharptons, I'm thinking to myself, I think one way to tajikomboa is to move away from personalities, because many of these personalities just want to replace the current oppressor. They don't mind the system. They don't mind things as they are. They just want to be the ones that they just want it to be their turn to eat. And so I think our fixation on leadership as something that is contained in leaders, as opposed to leadership as a concept, I think is our undoing. We will have a lot of people wanakuja na maneno matamu, alafu all of a sudden we have I'm seeing generals huku X wakifaitia mtu, huyu ni mtu wa integrity, unadhania tutapata leaders aje if we keep fighting all these leaders? And I'm thinking, ulijua aje ni wa integrity? Just because I came and told you mimi ni wa integrity, that's enough? Like I always tell people, don't believe my words, watch my record, interrogate my actions, lakini because we're in that place of chaos and confusion, there are people who will take advantage. Watatuambia tutoe pesa ya kupeleka civic education mashinani, because civic education inafanana na campaign, and we will quickly buy that bullshit. And there will be a lot of people who will fight any semblance of critical thinking. Anyway, I feel like I'm speaking cryptically. Lakini, cha muhimu, I guess the most important point for me is to say, to use these words za sauti sol, tujiangalie, like tuko pabaya. The situation we find ourselves in is not a joke, and we can have small disagreements happen pale, lakini we are in a serious we are in serious trouble. The world, unfortunately, does not mind an African country going to the dogs. It doesn't. Kutakuwa na Marshall Plan for Germany and other places, but an aberration, I think, is an action we need to support. Nitamalizia hapo picha.
Asante sana Jamu for that. I'd seen George Alkamino Mkono Drew. We are at 8:30. We are about half an hour towards the top of the hour. I'll give guys a round of submissions because we started home run late. Mimi napenda kuwa honest. Mbona nyinyi hamtakai kunipatianga off days? But anyway, this being the last day of the week, of course, thank you so much for being here. We are on the town hall, the Kenya I want. We used to have relationship talks on Fridays, but look at what Ruto has turned us to. Love doctors and now giving people campaign advice. George, do you have you had a rebuttal or what? Hello? All right, looks like we have lost George. Luka Matoke, can you get me? Hello? Bana Luka, are you there? Western Shilaho, are you there? Is it me? Ama ni mimi ndo nimepotea kwa network.
Hujapotea. Hujapotea.
Mike inachagua ni nani aongee leo. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have been very engaged this week with matters, the impeachment. And as you've heard, everybody's talking about issues of taking action, being out there, nimesikia Jamhuri akiongelea story ya getting leaders. And this issue of leadership has become a very pertinent issue when it comes to this thing that people call the movement. Apparently, the Gen Z movement was named out by the one and only former Deputy President, Bwana Rigathi Gachagua. Yeah. We didn't have a name. And then somebody also mentioned that the formless, shapeless, whatever, was also brought up by him. And that is why probably they thought he had also a hand in it. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. That it came from him bana. Sasa mimi nashanga kwani sisi tukua tunafanya nini hapo? And also, as you've heard, leaders. Right now, Morara Kebaso is saying that he's going to Narok. And guys had already planned to go to Uhuru Park. And it has become an issue on the internet because now people are wondering what is happening here in the middle of all these. I don't know if you guys have something to say about that. The real Joe. Because I've heard what Jamhuri has said about mambo ya leaders and how we treat them and people and their interests. What do you have to say on all this?
Pipita, you know, a movement that only merely moves people is a revolt. A movement that changes people and institutions is a revolution. Martin Luther King said that. When you try to just you see, in a movement, I mean, that's even the whole purpose of it. That's even where the word, the definition comes from. It's a movement. When you decide that you want to do it on your own and you want to take all the credit for it, red flags. When you decide to go against the interests of people, that's a red flag. It means when you get now to the helm of it, you'll be doing exact same thing. We saw these same red flags in William Ruto, but people just ignored and just still gave him a chance. It is not, for me, Pipita, I have said this several times, and I will say, and I say it, whether people like it or not, watanipenda, watanfollow, that is just up to you. Morara does not, for me, he does not check the boxes. The leadership test for me, the boxes that I've put there, I cannot check even one for now. And I'm not giving him, I'm not throwing him under the bus. For now, he needs to do more for me. And that is what I would wish to convince Kenyans. set your bar high moving forward. Don't play with anybody and feel some pity for anyone. No. You pity them, they take up these positions, they throw you under the bus. Throw them under the bus before they throw you under the bus. Set your bus very high. Don't just, oh, he's a young person. Check, he's my leader. Oh, he's able to stand on top of a vehicle and call people and call for a rally. Check, he's my leader. No. Put the right boxes to be ticked. Set the bar so high that he needs to meet the very, very high bars that you've set. And when he meets them, give him his dues. But it is not about just giving. I mean, it is, for me, you have to change both the people and the institution. And changing the people is the mindset, changing their mindset, giving them the right information. Not just, I mean, you see, and Morara actually, it is actually our problem. He was joking, by the way. He was shooting content. He was imitating the president. He was playing, and we decided to take him seriously. That's what I think. And I'm not discrediting him, but I feel like we pushed him too far. And if he feels like he's up there right now and he can dine with the big boys, I mean, we still have a long way to go. We need to do more. We need to do more. We need to do more. So it's not just, and him making it about him, that is also my problem. It's my problem. Why does he have to make it about him? When he goes online, he says, now just a young man saying, I'm going this direction, everybody is whining. He's always making it about him. About him. That is a big red flag. He doesn't tick the boxes. So you want me to leave ODM, a party that I've supported for years, and I want to replace ODM, yes. And you want me to replace with Inject Party, Morara. But now you guys, give me a better person, give me a better deal. Morara does not meet any qualification that you can tell me to replace ODM right now. Sijatoka ODM, but I'm looking for a better party. I'm losing. Yes.
Sorry to interject, Kidogo. So that we don't make this about Morara, I think you've made your point about sticking to the issues. I'm just interjecting so that we don't slide into kind of personality, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you. I stand guided. But again, leadership is all about personalities. We have to talk about them. But anyway, I stand guided. But just to land my point, right now, I think our only hope, and I'll borrow this from Martin Luther King. I like to follow his quotes a lot. Our only hope lies in our ability to recapture this revolution spirit and go back into sometimes the hostile world and declaring internal hostility to these politicians. We need to go back to deplatforming them. We need to declare internal hostility
1 minute.
to them. We need to do that and recapture the spirit of this revolution. Thank you. Let me land.
Najua nitaanza kubehave kama venye Senate walikuwa wanafanya. You know, I've been watching the mic controllers of Senate very carefully because siku moja labda naweza jipata hapo clerk of the bunge. You know what I'm saying? So niko naona vile wanaongea. Ukiongea beyond time unasikia tu mic yako imeenda. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I have to break for the weekend, guys. I've done over 40 hours of spaces this week. I need to just go and relax. So I'm going to time you guys at least 3 minutes each to kielekea kumaliza. The show ends at 9, but I'm going to listen to everybody who's on the mic right now. George, in 3 minutes, do you have a rebuttal or something? Ni kama nimepoteza George. Let us go to Justice for All. Justice for All. Health Data Manager, Opio Ouma. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I can hear you. Talk to me.
Thank you, Pipita, for this occasion. But I just want to go directly to the point that one of the speakers are just deliberated a little bit conscious by beginning the two phrases up there, but then we are losing our focus going into maybe trying to make it so vivid. So in this capacity, I believe as youth, as a movement, we only remain with one thing. We must go to the ground. All these politicians who are disturbing us today, they went to the ground. They stole our future. They stole our thoughts. They stole our ideas. And now they are controlling us. But if we are going to continue blackmailing each other, that we are going to be on spaces, and then we still fight those already rolling it to the ground, we are going nowhere. We must go to the ground, period. We must meet the Kenyan people. We must feel their problems down there. We must make them pay attention to us. We must make them realize that we are there for them. We must make them understand that we are meaning something in 2027. And in all that process, it is beyond these candid discussions at the spaces. I want to conclude by saying, David Ndii once said a very good phrase, that in this government, they believe that the majority are the ignorant people. The minority are the elites who are here and on spaces. So they are going to bribe the majority, to make them win the next election. If you are not going to go faster beyond them and capture these people, just like some other teams that I've seen go doing there, and you can see government has started harassing them because they have realized they are waking fools from their sleeping slumber, where their spirit and their strength has been residing. Otherwise, I believe that as Kenyan people, let us go to the ground.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much, Health Data Manager, for that submission. I see Joy. I'm to join up and Danny. How are you doing, Joy? Joy, are you there? Unmute your mic, Joy, if you can hear me. Ni kama ni watu wakiingia kwa speaker wanisikia nini? Yeah. Hi.
Peter, sorry. Sikuwa nasikia, I was driving. Yeah.
Oh, pole.
Yeah, I was just about to about someone who just said about, I don't know. The thing is, people been dividing. Yani, someone goes to the ground and does the real thing, but a lot of people hapo tu ni kuongea, sijui you want to take the leader, sijui the leader has to be this. Hata wewe go to the ground, fanya hivyo, hata kukaa tu. You're just waiting for that person, just putting the ticks, you know? It doesn't work out like that. Just like Nani said, that guy, Opio, people need to do something. Huwezi kaa tu hapo kwa nini kwa keyboard hapo, you're just ticking. Oh, this leader doesn't have that. No, that doesn't work. It does not work. People have to go kwa ground, wafanya vile Morara anafanya. Waache kushinda tu hapo wakifight. That's nonsense, you know? We are going nowhere. Niyo tu for now. I need to, kuna kitu nafanya hapa hivi.
All right. Thank you for that, Joy. I may have to set point of order. Naambia mnakuanga wakali. Sasa niulize, mmeamua mimi basi nifunge spaces zake. Kila mtu anasema don't come to spaces, Opio, don't come to spaces and talk. Oh, George, don't come to spaces and talk. Mnataka nikule nini wadau? Honestly. Sasa tuongee sasa Wakenya kwa Wakenya. Mnataka nikule nini? Nisipowafungulia radio show. To negotiate. Juu mimi nifungue space, niwape topic, muongee, mujuane, mfunzane, alafu mweke tip hapo. Lakini sasa mkisema tusikuje hapa kwa space, mnamaanisha nini ukweli hivi? Na ndo mnatuita nigga class. Nyaradwen. Hi.
Pipi, how are you?
I am well. Yourself?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your sacrifices and commitment and everybody who's in here. Now, I just got up for two things. Number one, is we have realized, and it is evident, that Gachagua impeachment proceedings have literally exposed Parliament as an institution available for hire and control. And you know what that does? This means it demeans our institutions and the entire arm of government. The case here is at the courts right now, but let's see, because even that court, when I talk institutions, then it's evident that there's not much that we can achieve. Number two that I wanted us to discuss is we did shoot ourselves in the foot. How do we shoot ourselves on the foot? I believe in hiding close. By the way, politics is difficult. I have ever vied on the ground. It is not, when I was going to vie, I had these, grandiose kind of projects in my head that I wanted to do just to change the livelihood of my people. Because at that point, I was more of, like for me, I have my food. I can go to the best hospital in the world. But I have people who are my blood back at home who do not have the privileges that I have. And I'm like, I have this opportunity and I have the networks to pull the strings so that I am able to bring not only the exchequer's money, but also some proper funding that is going to bring a difference. And I had that idea when my dear, by the time you get on that ground, I am telling you for free. In fact, people will tell you, ma'am, hey, Marai, ni wewe tu, it is only you. Ni wewe tu, eh? And you get carried away like, people love me. They mean well. When it comes to elections, it's a totally different thing. How did we shoot ourselves on the foot? We shot ourselves on the foot by showing our clothes. We know Pipita is the one leading us, and Pipita is trust me, the more your clothes are opened, they'll be clipped by the who is who in government. You will be clipped. The best thing to do is to hide your clothes. Yes, I am of the opinion that we cannot continue being formless, leaderless, and the meaninglesses that we are. But we can have a leader who is not interested in politics, but more of a revolutionary, more of somebody who's able to create a movement. But when we pick Pipita and Pipita goes through with us and Pipita is trying to, he's going to be picked and we are going to back to the same scenario. So my point is, even if you are a leader, even if you have those aspirations, this is not the time. This is not the time to come out. Right now, we have a bigger giant. And you know what pains me most? What makes me really cry when I sleep? Is that during Kibaki, when Kibaki was the president, Ruto was in his cabinet. Do you know Kibaki sacked Ruto for us? He sacked him from his cabinet because of corruption. And that was agriculture. The next time, Uhuru now plays along with him as the DP, and Uhuru comes out and tells us, please, do not elect this person. This one is going to fail Kenya. And we Kenyans, the people of Kenyans, we are here because, we are just Kenyans. I don't know what we are going to do about Kenyans, but we are Kenyans. We will never listen. We don't want to listen. We know too much and we know nothing. So when it comes to elections, is a different thing. It's not the psychophancy. It's not the name calling, the fame. Fame and elections are two different things. Kwanzaa, there's rigging, there's so many things. There's a lot that needs to be done for you to get that seat. And therefore, those who are planning to vie and wants to lead the I call it Gen K, Generation Kenya. For me, Gen Z helped us to a certain level. But now it has to be Gen K. So that is all I wanted to say, Pipita.
Nyaradwen, kwani ulipata kura ngapi? Tuseme tu kweli, apart from yako.
First, one thing you have to know, Pipita, one thing you have to know is people, you never won. Bora umesimama ulishinda. That's number one. Watu unashinda. But anyway, I was number 2, and I am proud I was number 2 against ODM as an independent. I went as an independent, and I became number 2, but I still feel kura zangu ziliibwa na watu wa ODM. Did I answer you?
Hata mimi nakusupport. Unajua hata mimi nimeona hata venye umeongea walikudanganya, honestly. Pole. Hiyo ndo kitu moja inanifanya nachukia siasa. People really know they do not love you. They are not going to give you and you know, I gave people a chance here last Tuesday. Nikaambia watu kujeni hapa muongee if you want to be a politician. I think I had only 2-3 people, and one was someone who was a former aspirant in Kibera. Na akakuja akatuambia hapa hivi alipigwa panga. You know, hiyo ndo siku niliacha kuwa mwanasiasa. Chatu nibaki kwa radio ndio asomeange habari. Western Shilaho, you have 3 minutes to react hapa hivi. Talk to us.
Pipita, I just want to begin from where Nyaradua left. One, I'll give us as homework, because I've had this narrative again and again, but it's misleading. It's not Mwai Kibaki who tried to sack William Ruto. It is Raila Odinga. Go and do that homework. Because when Raila Odinga tried to sack William Ruto and Sam Ongeri, there were 2 of them. They were told to stay put because Raila Odinga didn't have the powers to sack any cabinet minister. And they stayed put. It was not Mwai Kibaki. Please, let's not portray Mwai Kibaki as this, leader who left an exemplary legacy. He did not. And therefore, because they were scheming for the 2013 elections, so they wanted to antagonize Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Secondly, during Mwai Kibaki era, there was a minister called David Miraria, who was also caught up in a corruption scandal. So when pressure was piled against him to resign, Mwai Kibaki asked those who were agitating for his resignation, amekula mbuzi ya nani? Please, appraise yourselves with Kenya's history. Amekula mbuzi ya nani? That's what he asked. For those who don't remember, you can look for the NAC manifesto. They campaigned on the platform of infrastructure. And they promised that once they get into government, they will do all. Kenya's artery, as far as infrastructure is concerned, that highway from Mombasa to Malaba, once elections were over, Mwai Kibaki had been sworn in, he shifted to Thika Highway. If you don't know that, these things are documented. So it's important that we appraise ourselves with our history. Pipita, I want to respond to Joy. Joy was embattled at some point. Pipita, you cannot be personal when you are talking about a public figure. Please, let's be honest. If you're talking about somebody's homestead, you are personal, but you can't be personal when you're discussing William Ruto. You can't be personal when you're discussing Raila Odinga or Barack Obama or Donald Trump. These are public figures. How can you be personal? Morara describes himself as, I don't know, president of Inject Party or something. What is that? How is he a personal? How is it being personal when you discuss him and even mention his name? How is that personal? It's not. It's not. So if you want people not to discuss you, don't get into the public realm. Then you can lay claim to privacy. I don't represent anybody. I don't lead any political party. I'm not a cabinet minister. I just do my own business. Why are you discussing me? But you can't be personal when you're discussing public figures. We discuss them even long after they've died, don't we? Because of the actions they did, the decisions they make, they still affect us long after they're dead. We mention them. We mention their names. So Joe should not be apologetic about that. It's imperative to name names when you're discussing state affairs, because those state affairs are presided over by individuals, and those individuals have got names. Pepita, the real Joe is being very magnanimous. I'm not magnanimous, really, Pepita. What I could say is that anybody who is following Morara is headed into oblivion, frankly speaking. Can you imagine Morara if he represents you? Morara in a room with William Ruto discussing and negotiating on your behalf. Can you trust somebody like that? No, this is a person who is leading your party. There is a crisis after election, so you say go to that room and discuss with William Ruto. What deal is he going to extract on your behalf? No, you tell me what deal. He's going to throw you under the bus. He's going to sell you short. And therefore, if people are defending Morara, I think we talk about civic education going to mashinani. I think they stand in need of civic education. They do. It's not those mashinani people. Morara, you don't have to really wrap your head. Just reading the things he writes, what he says, he has no leadership qualities. He doesn't have what it takes to really take on these very formidable forces that are ranged against us. He doesn't have. He's very narcissistic. He's very puerile. He's very erratic. That kind of a person, how can they lead you? They can't. And we be scared of calling out Morara, like really does that make that we consistently call out William Ruto, call out Raila Odinga, call out all sorts of people. You expect us to tiptoe and walk on eggshells when it comes to Morala? It doesn't make sense, really. Come on. It's not going to work. We call out all and sundry, irrespective of your station in life. And then Morala will not be an exception. So we must minimize sycophancy. When we're handling these people, just get rid of sycophancy. Hold these people accountable. Ask them all the questions that you can. That's when we can pride ourselves as working for Kenya that will be for the benefit of all. But when you put some people on the pedestal, these are holy cows. These ones are beyond reproach. You are oozing negative energy. Come on. We'll not be scared. And we cannot hold other people accountable to high standards when we cannot hold ourselves to high standards. It doesn't make sense. That's being childish, and we are not children. Thank you, Pepita.
Hey, jamani. Sasa ni hivi tutaenda. DK Gift, I saw your hand up. Sijui kama uko na kitu ya kusema kwanza kabla before I go on.
No, just go on. I'll come in after you.
So, let me hear from Justice for All. Why were you waving like that heavily?
No, because I think it's becoming a misleading contest, which I feel we need to bring to order. Yeah, yes, Kibaki fired Ruto. Of course, I know where the confusion comes in is because, of course, those of us who found us from the time of the referendum, there's a time Raila tried to fire Ruto, and then of course it was told he wasn't the authority. But after the court ruled that there was he had a case to answer of fraud from the as a higher education minister, he was fired. So that information is accurate that he was fired by Kibaki. Ruto was fired by Kibaki. The other point that I wanted to contribute on, and as my last point, PP, is that indeed there is need for some level of structure. in whatever form it takes, even if it doesn't take leadership at the moment, there's a way to start having a structure, and that gives a direction. Like now, what the likes of the Real Joe are doing in terms of petitions and everything. How do we come in? And one of the other things that I've always tried to push for, and it doesn't have to be through your platform, someone else's platform can come in on how maybe some people who may not be boots on the ground, how can they even resource-wise contribute? Because as the movement starts forming, I think it's important to start thinking. It doesn't have to be executed right away. That's probably one I'll propose. I disagree quite a bit with Western on the stand about Morara. He's not a public figure. Doesn't hold public office. I think it's something that is forming, and there are different people that are trying to come up now, trying to find. Once we make it a subject of discussion, I think it's becoming distracting. I don't think anybody is asking us to follow them or to join them in a way of like, join us for me to lead you. It's not holding any.
Ngoja wewe, what do you mean nobody is asking you to join him? He has a party which people will have to join. He's asking for people to give him money. He is telling people to go to him to Narok. So what do you mean nobody is asking him to be a leader? What are you trying to drive at here, Justice? He has already positioned himself as a leader. So you cannot be a leader and not a leader. You get it? Come on, Bana.
Okay. I raised that case over there. I don't want to discuss that because okay. I just raised that case over there. Anyway, so my final word is that indeed we will, as things start forming, people always, especially those who are who are lawyers and they're trying to either put petitions, how can we come in? I think that kind of education will help us. Those who are trying to do other things that support the movement without necessarily causing division, I think it's critical for us to other people to start partnering. And even if it's not like you are joining those people, but what value can somebody bring in? So in that way, it could be through expertise, it could be through funds, could be through other forms of resource, so that we can support the movement to continue moving. Because it will take a while before all this starts merging and coming together into something. So for me, the way I'm seeing these different leaders who are holding, whether it's spaces and all that, I think they are running something, but they haven't merged yet to get to a point now we have a common goal to start saying now who is then going to lead us in this kind of joint movement. But I think now there's small movements here and there.
Okay, good. He had said yeye ni president. So huwezi kuwa president na wewe si president. Tuelewane wadau. Tusikuwa watu wenye Western Shilao amesema. Ukikuwa emotional, ukikuwa fanatic, una end up kukua kama majamaa wa ODM. Na mnaona venye walifanya. They don't think when Baba says jump, they jump fast. Unaona? Wale wenye walikuwa pale hivi, do you see what they're doing? That is how it starts. And I know of people who have even stopped listening to Home Run Pipi because we asked Morara, umekusanya hii pesa yote, so tuonyeshe venye unatumia pesa. And I was bashed. Anyway, nilitukanadi na anko yangu. Nishazoea. Isaac.
Pepita.
Yes,
thank you so much, Pepita. And I 100% agree with you. I have a class in the next few minutes, so allow me to throw in my 50 cents, if not 10 cents. Number one, I think Kenyans, we are a problem of our own, right? And I would like to throw in my sense of His Excellency, I don't want to say former Deputy President, because I'm just confused when I woke up this morning to realize that things were done overnight and they've changed all of a sudden. So I still see him as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. You know, when Uhuru, not Uhuru Kenyatta, but when Ruto was actually appointing the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, he still had a case. And if you guys remember very well, he was acquitted by the Anti-Corruption Commission. And this case was even in court and he was actually convicted. But now you see, at that point, no one actually saw that as a way of, having a state officer getting into office when he has not actually been cleared of, corruption and so forth. And he became the deputy president. But now people can now start seeing, he was not fit for office because of, whatever has happened and what the proceedings we've seen both in the House of Commons and the Senate as well. So as things are evolving, we see how we are corrupting even our own constitution that we need to hold as sovereign, the constitution that guide our proceedings and, how we elect our leaders and how they come to office. So you can see we become a problem. We become a stumbling block we don't let the constitution be the constitution, right? If I may drive you to maybe our constitution going back, I think it should be chapter 137 under the qualification and disqualifications for election as president. Part 2 of B says when you're trying to nominate a presidential candidate, and in that case, by extension, deputy president, because they become as a unit, they work as a unit, right? He should not be holding public office. And I'm open for legal interpretation of this. I'm not a lawyer, and if we have lawyers in the house, they can tell me this guy should not be a public officer. Kindiki is a public officer, so I'm wondering, how is he going to be appointed when he has not actually retired? That's something that has really been troubling me since I woke up this morning to realize that, he's the person being fronted to be replace Gachagua. So you can see how we are mutilating our constitution without necessarily following it to the ladder. And I know with the interpretation of this, but I can see we are maiming our own constitution. We are mutilating, and the word is mutilating our own constitution to fit our own interests. And that's where the problem is coming in. So, guys, here's the thing. When you become a leader, and I want to throw in something that now has come up with Morata. I was one of the critics of Morata right away from the beginning. And I saw business Morata is doing. To me, Morata is an opportunistic. In fact, I will even advocate for Eric Omondi because I've seen what Eric Omondi has been doing. I've seen even the money he collects, what he does with